hey, let's look at open canvas, just see what's out there. What are the possibilities? The leaders, and then there's the followers.
Yeah.
And again, depends on which one you are, right? And to me, I say the first filter is, if you can wait, if you have the DNA for that, then you can be an entrepreneur. Do you have it or not? And it's okay. You may not have this, but you have that. So think about all the ways you can engage and make a difference on the outcome. If you can do it, we can all do it.
Hi, I'm John Patterson, and welcome to the Driven Leaders Podcast, where we talk to driven leaders, leaders that give back, leaders that do more for our community, for their teammates, and for the Orange County, Southern California market in general. And so today I'm so honored to be joined by my good buddy Wing Lam from Wahoo's Fish Tacos. And we are going to talk a lot about not just how his family got to create this business, but also the giving back piece to it. Because what a lot of people know about Wing is the foods, the tacos, the shops, but I don't know that you all know how much they give back to the community. So with that, Wing, welcome to the Driven Leaders Podcast.
Well, always glad to share a little mic with you, John, because I know how much I give. I know how much you give. It's always fun to be with people that do the right thing.
Well, I'm so blessed to have gotten to know you. Your brother Mingo and I were neighbors for, next door neighbors for about 10 years. And I'd never really gotten to know your whole family story, but he shared a lot with me. And I think it'd be worth you kind of giving our listeners a chance to understand how this came to be.
Well, I think how we met is because at the time I was running Tim Salmon's golf tournament.
That's right.
And I'm like, hey, we need one of these cars, but not just a car for the hole-in-one, because we all know you buy insurance against it. Again, it's a great way to promote a car, but also a chance to win it. But I said, well, what about getting a car for an auction? And you're like, you're crazy. And I go, well, I got to ask. And sure enough, you stepped up. And I think you did one of the, was it the Mazda 3s? Whatever, there was a 3 in there. And we ended up using it twice for 2 different auctions. Because I think the way we did it is you gave, I think, a 2-year lease. And I says, well, if we bought it again, we can do another 2-year lease. And by the end of the 2-year leases, we might as well own the car.
There you go. Absolutely.
So we found a way to basically get you credit for being at 2 different events. I think it was the Rod Carew and the Tim Salmon. And then we ended up buying the car. It worked out great. So everybody got, something. The charity raised a lot of money. We really appreciate you guys stepping up. It was a lot of fun.
Well, this is not about us, but I'm grateful for the positive plug. But, how does somebody create this whole, tacos empire and then get to the charitable piece? So for anybody that's not familiar with how Wahoo's got created, could you bring us up to speed?
Okay. So luckily for my family, my brothers and I, of all places that my dad could have landed in America was Orange County, specifically Newport Beach. So he first started with one restaurant on Balboa Island. It's still there, the Pine Garden. And basically the joke is he needed some free laborers, the kids. So we all, immigrated from Brazil to America in the mid-70s to help him out. And along the way, the restaurant did phenomenally well, paid for all of us to go to college and all that. And, when I got out first of the younger sets of brother, right? And I kind of said, hey, corporate America is not as much fun as, maybe working for ourselves. So Ed was coming out of college and I goes, hey, maybe we can do something else. What do we like to do? What do we know how to do well? And Mingo was still in college. He goes, you guys go figure it out because I'm nowhere near you guys. So we thought, hey, maybe we can do something based on food. And we went around and around and goes, hey, we don't want to do another Chinese restaurant, even though we could have taken that over.
Sure.
So we decided, goes, hey, what do we really enjoy? And we enjoy having, Mexican food.
Sure.
And specifically fish tacos, because every time we go surfing in Mexico, that's what we eat.
Yeah.
And we came up with a bunch of recipes, me and Ed, and we dragged in Mingo. He was still in college. So Mingo was always doing like the paperwork on the back end. So Ed and I basically said, hey, let's do this thing in 1988. And we've really never looked back. And basically, it was through the network that we had of the surfing industry backing us up. Because it was like, hey, let's have a place to hang out after surfing. And Ed happened to have worked for almost everybody in the industry at one point or another. And I just knew who they were. And then the rest is kind of like I say, you build or they'll come. And they did.
It is. And you've created such a great culture in each and every one of the restaurants. Each one has that great surfer vibe and a fun environment. I mean, every time we go in there, your staff is great. It's engaging. It's a lot of fun to go there. And, I always like to laugh. You might remember this. Mike Ray that worked for corporate Mazda was in our Huntington Beach store. And all of a sudden, we were in the process of getting another car out of the way. and he saw you and he looked and he said, "Oh my gosh, I was in college. I was a fraternity brother with him. We all went down to Mexico. We all had fish tacos, but only he had the idea to put this thing together. I can't believe it."
Basically installed back in the day an old Alpine stereo in one of my cars. The rite of passage being in the fraternity was road trips.
Yeah.
And where did everybody go? When it was cheap, when you're on a budget, south of the border.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A little Baja trip.
Yep.
So that works out awesome. Well, and now you took it from 2 stores to how many Wahoo
We've got over
stores?
50 locations
50
across
locations.
5 states still right now, and one in Japan. So
And one in Japan. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Do you get a chance to get over to Japan from time
that's
to time?
the only franchise I haven't been to.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, for all of you listening, the success that Wahoo's and Wing and his brothers have had is spectacular. But one of the key things that I want to focus on in our discussion is way more than just having a successful business. A lot of people have successful businesses, but don't think to give back. And as long as I've known you, as long as I've known your business model, that is at the core of who you are. So walk me through, when did you make the transition from restaurateur to philanthropist?
Well, it started basically as soon as we started making money. So about 6 months into the business, I literally, as we all know, alumni, the first thing call you get is from your high school, your
Yeah.
college, whatever it is, right? So my old water polo coach from Estancia High School, John Carpenter, came by and said, "Oh my God, you guys are doing really well." And I literally said, before he asked me, I said, "Hey, what can I give?" And he looked at me and goes, "You're kidding." And I go, "No, it's not like you need a lot. Swimmers and water polo players, we have lane lines and goals and
Yep,
whatever.
absolutely.
It's not like uniforms like football and all that. So it wasn't a lot of money." And I said, "Well, let me help you out." And from there, I got a couple of other coaches. Wetzel at Orange Coast College. I can't think of his name at UCI. Newland at UCI, and then one at Saddleback College for different sports: volleyball, baseball, water polo, whatever. And I said the same thing. Goes, "Hey, let me help you out." And they're all looking at me, going, "Are you sure?" I go, "Yeah," because from a sporting point of view, football and basketball gets all the money.
Sure.
Everything else gets what's left over. So I went to the minor sports and said, "Let me help you guys out." And right around the same time, BJ's Pizza, Paul Matenko came by and said, "Hey, by the way, just wanted to share something, like kind of sad. My daughter, Stacy, just got diagnosed with CF. And, if there's something you can do," I'm like, "Absolutely. What do we need help with?" So we started helping. And again, this is 34 years ago, whatever, 35. And then the life expectancy was maybe to about 10 years old or so.
Wow.
She's now, I believe, 38 or 39.
Holy smokes.
So the ability to help extend or make somebody's life better. So from CF, somebody from MS came, somebody from MDA, somebody from JDRF. I can go through all the acronyms in the
Sure,
alphabet,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And everybody will say, "Hey, can you help out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Because at the end of the day, it was like, "Hey, maybe we can't give you $1,000, but we can give you enough food
Yep.
that will offset maybe $10,000. So would you still want 1,000? They're like, "We'll take the 10 in food."
Yeah, absolutely.
In kind. So we started doing, the bike rides, the golf tournaments, the walks, the jogs, and the marathons, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And it was just always, it felt good to give back. Chalk. I mean, I literally almost every organization.
I don't know one
Yeah.
in Orange County where you're not involved in, candidly.
And so I basically dragged my brothers along. And in the beginning, it was easier because they're like, "Wayne, if you want to go spend your weekends doing it, go for it." And now I'm like, "Hey, not only do I want to spend my time, but you guys need to, kick in some of your time." So it's been a little group effort on all of our parts. A lot of shelters, a lot of kids,
Yep.
education, So we don't really have a big filter. It's mostly like, "Hey, how can we do it and make an impact?"
You mentioned kids, which I love. I know you've been super involved in getting a lot of the youth into the hospitality industry.
yeah.
Logical, right?
Yeah.
So such a need in the business world
Yep.
right now. A lot of kids don't automatically think about getting into hospitality, but there's a real career path
Yeah.
there. Walk me through how you made that transition from, okay, we're giving people food, helping them out, to, hey, I can help kids' career path here.
The whole thing is about, like we all talk about, is, don't give them the fish, teach them how to fish. So whatever it is, whether it's hospitality, the auto industry, whatever it may be, give them ideas, give them the vision, the possibility, because not everybody wants to be in a kitchen, right? Whatever it is that you want to do, let's talk about the options and what does it look like to get there. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I really want to do this." And once you sit down and you break it down and what it looks like, they're like, maybe I really don't want to do that.
Maybe not so much, right?
Because I think, again, the idea of a lot of things is really fun. But like we talk about, hey, you want to be an Olympian. Well, this is how much you got to do to get there.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, whoa. And you remember, that's just to get there. To get on that podium, it's a whole different level.
Absolutely.
Right? So are you willing to do the sacrifice, and also do you have the skills and the whole thing to get there? So a lot of people goes, yeah, you know what, I'm happy playing high school ball, right? And that's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing against it, but at every level there's a little bit more competition.
Yeah.
So not only in sports, but in music, every career. So my job is to sit there, goes, here's what it looks like, here's the road to get from here to there. Do you understand with the sacrifices, the hard work, the commitment, all the things that it takes to get from here to there?
Yeah.
And by just talking to them, you go, you don't have it. Or you don't have it for that,
Right.
but you have it for something
else. Right.
Right. So that's what you try to do. It's not to discourage, but it's just check the ones that it's not in your DNA to do. It's okay. Right. Because not everybody can lift 1,000 pounds.
For sure. Absolutely.
Right. But maybe you can run faster, maybe you can swim faster, or whatever it is that you can do. So my job is to, like, hey, life coaching to kids, like, hey, let's look at open canvas, just see what's out there. What are the possibilities? But what does it take to get there?
So when you get involved in these events, I mean, I've seen you speak in front of thousands of kids all at once. Do they ask you a specific question? Hey, how can I become you? Or is it, is a lot of it, I want to create my own restaurant, or is it, I just want to get involved?
There's both, because there's entrepreneurs, the leaders, and then there's the followers.
Yeah.
And again, depends on which one you are, right? And to me, I say the first filter is if you can wait until Friday, but if it doesn't happen, you got to wait until the following Friday to get paid. If you have the DNA for that, then you can be an entrepreneur. But if you like to know that every Friday there's going to be a paycheck, then you're more of a worker, be a follower, right? And it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no one right path.
Yeah, there's no right path. So you got to decide, like, what is your, character? So I ask a lot of questions. I listen to them answer. And by the way they answer, you can tell, right? Do you have it or not? And it's okay. You may not have this, but you have that.
I love it.
And that's all it is.
So one thing that I've really enjoyed is when I get a chance to work with you and with Charles Antis, and we rock the socks for Ronald McDonald House and Chalk. How did you make that transition into being such a huge spokesman for rocking the socks? I mean, I'm wearing my socks. You're wearing your socks. How did that come to be?
Well, because Charles, at the very beginning of the pandemic, I think it was May.
So Charles Antis, by the way, owner of Antis Roofing, very good friend of ours. But
he was the co-chair of the capital campaign for the Ronald McDonald House. So in May of 2020, when the pandemic hit, the campaign stalled at 10 million, and they needed to get to about 13 million. So they're about 3 million short of it.
Yeah.
And they needed to create awareness. And I believe between all of us, I'm the only guy that goes to work in shorts. So yes, the socks look great on you, but nobody ever sees it.
Absolutely. In fact, you didn't think I was wearing mine
Exactly,
today.
because the pants were covering it.
Yeah.
So I said, give them to me, and we'll go out and create awareness. So right out of the gate, I got Jeff Roos from Lennar Homes. We did a photo shoot on the harbor with the three of us with shorts on so we can see the socks.
Love it.
And basically started asking local business guys. He goes, hey, can you kick in? And they started looking at me, go, well, who's the clown, right? And it goes, well, what better guy to represent Ronald McDonald than the taco guy?
I love
the whole thing
it.
made sense. And Charles thought it was crazy. But within a couple of years, we finished raising the capital.
Wow. And so for those of you listening, the capital campaign for the Orange County House that now looks tremendous.
Amazing. I was just there the other day because some of the families, it was 90 people got displaced from the Pasadena fires.
Oh,
so they had
gosh,
to
of
come down.
course.
So literally, I got a phone call the night before, and Corey goes, Wayne, can we get 90 dinners and da-da-da-da-da? I go, we'll have yogurts, cookies, and we'll have everything delivered tomorrow.
Wow.
And we did. Yeah.
Okay, and that's truly amazing. Yeah, we just walked it in the last month, and I cannot believe you walk in there. And for those that don't know what the Ronald McDonald House does, right? They serve so many of these families whose children are in dire straits.
Yes.
At Chalk Hospital, all the children's hospitals across the West, and the place that they're staying is like a nice hotel.
Really nice hotel. I mean, they got TVs, they got quiet rooms, they got laundry facilities. They got, I mean, everything's amazing.
Yeah, you shut each door in each room. You got your own bathroom.
yeah.
It is a nice hotel with a nice dining area. I'm just blown away. And to think that you rocking the socks has played a factor in raising that capital campaign is a huge deal.
And getting to meet Fred Hill, the founder, in the
that's right.
process. So again, I would have never had a reason to meet him. And now we're friends. So all these things happen for a reason.
I love that. What's next? Are you looking at any new charitable options? Are you looking at anything that would be the next focus for you from a giving back perspective?
Well, right now it's about, we got a big fundraiser coming up on the 27th next month. I'll send you the information later.
Perfect.
On the USS Iowa. So it'll be I call it a comedy/concert
Okay.
with Sammy Hagar.
Nice.
So it's for the families that got, if the responders in the military that got affected by the fires.
Oh my
So we're
goodness.
raising money for all of them. Yeah.
How did you get involved in that?
The same thing. They need food. They're going to call us. And more important, they need the radio station, KLOS, to partner up.
Yeah.
Basically, they need to be able to sell tickets. So that's what we do. We know how to sell tickets, fill seats, and make sure everybody's having a great time.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
your willingness to always jump in is second to none, my friend. So for anybody listening that wants to be, that is a leader or might be a leader of a small group, how do they get started? How do they become the next Wing Lamb of giving back to the Orange County community? Because I always joke that you're the mayor of Newport Beach. When I walk around and I see you around town, we give each other a hug, but there's 20, 30 people walking around you. And that's because you give back so much. So if somebody's thinking, I just need to get started, how would you recommend it?
Just find something that you enjoy supporting, right? Whether it's your own church, your wife's nurses, whatever the group is, your neighbors, and just start there. And then get a bunch of friends together that can help. Because once you start having fun, it becomes more of like a part of the routine.
Yeah.
But if you gotta then don't do it.
I like
It's gotta feel good, because when you're happy giving, it's easier to give more.
Right. It becomes this organic is an
Yeah.
overused word, but for you, you're in the food place.
Oh, yeah.
People need food. I mean, I guess I would say the same thing. I'm in the car business. You need transportation.
Yep.
Your strengths and you identify that. So any last thoughts for any listeners on, what you see as, the next charitable item going on in Orange County? Obviously you're going to be getting involved with fire victims, but as somebody that gives back so much, I mean, is this something you're going to be doing for the next 10, 20, 30 years?
Oh, yes. As long as I'm around. The other thing, too, is education, because, again, there's a lot of changes happening, with the churches and all that. So, again, just think about the future, right? So the kids are our future. They all say that. So think about all the ways you can engage and make a difference on the outcome.
Love it. I love it. Well, Wing, I'm truly inspired by all that you do. And it's always a blessing when I get a chance to work with you on a project or just watch you, because you are truly a leader of our community. You've given back over and over again. And I'm sure that your phone rings a dozen times a day saying, hey, can you help with this? And you're just a guy that doesn't say no. And to that end, and so much of it impacts kids and families. And on behalf of all of them, thank you. And on our Goose behalf, thank you for all that you've done for us and inspiring me to become a better leader as well. Because by looking at guys like you, you set the path for guys like me to be able to say, well, if he can do it, I'm going to walk in behind him and do my best to do it as well.
If you can do it, we can all do it.
Amen. Well, Wing Lamb, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you've got 100 things going on in any given day. Taking this time out is much appreciated.
Pleasure being here. Thanks,
Appreciate
John.
you, bud. Make it a
All
great
right.
day. Thank you for listening and watching the Driven Leaders podcast with our guest today, Wing Lamb from Wahoo's Fish Tacos. Wing is an amazing driven leader, not just in creating the Wahoo's business that's now 50 stores wide all across the Western United States and Japan, but the fact that they give back so much. They start with what they're experts at, giving back food. And food, 200, 500, 1,000 people at a time can make a huge impact for so many different charities. And one high school soccer team, football team, water polo team turns into Chalk Hospital and Ronald McDonald House and all these wonderful charities that are just making massive impacts in people's lives. Wing is a true driven leader, and I am so grateful that he got a chance to share his story with each of you. And if you like what you heard, don't forget to like, share, or subscribe to the Driven Leaders podcast so that we can provide more content to you to help you become the best driven leader you can be. Make it a great day.